when niceness isn't enough. We've all met them. The coworker who smiles to your face and undercuts you behind your back. The friend who only shows up when they need something. The relative who turns every family gathering into a minefield of guilt trips and subtle insults. These people drain you. They twist your words. They make you question your own sanity. And the worst part? They often get away with it, because decent people hesitate to fight dirty. That's where this video comes in. Today, we're not talking about forgiveness, empathy, or sending love to your enemies. No, we're talking about strategy. Because sometimes, being kind isn't enough to protect yourself. Sometimes, you have to think like Machiavelli, the 16th century strategist who studied power, manipulation, and human behavior in all its brutal honesty. Don't worry. This isn't about becoming cold or ruthless. It's about learning how to see people clearly, protect your peace, and respond intelligently instead of emotionally. Because when you understand how toxic people think, you stop being their victim. You become untouchable. 1. Who are toxic people really? Let's start by defining what we're actually dealing with. A toxic person isn't just someone who's annoying or difficult. It's someone whose pattern of behavior drains your mental or emotional energy. These are people who play games with guilt, twist facts, and turn small issues into psychological warfare. They don't argue to find truth. They argue to win control. You'll recognize them because you always leave the interaction worse than you came in. Maybe you feel anxious, confused, or like you have to defend yourself for something you didn't even do. That's their weapon, confusion. They thrive on making you question yourself, because self-doubt keeps you compliant. And here's the thing. Some toxic people aren't even fully aware of what they're doing. They're operating from fear, insecurity, or habit. But others? They know exactly what they're doing. They use charm as camouflage and conflict as control. The key is not trying to fix them, but to understand their playbook. 2. Why Machiavelli still matters. Now, why bring Machiavelli into this? He lived 500 years ago, advising princes on how to survive betrayal, manipulation, and the chaos of Renaissance politics. And yet, his insights read like a survival manual for the modern workplace, or even your family group chat. Machiavelli's philosophy starts with one radical idea: people aren't as noble as we wish they were. They act on self-interest, fear, and power. Once you accept that, you stop taking everything personally. You stop expecting fairness, and you start planning. That's where your power begins. Modern life may not involve kingdoms and wars, but it's full of subtle power dynamics, promotions, relationships, reputation. Machiavelli teaches us to see those dynamics clearly, to spot manipulation early and counter it without losing our minds or our morals. That's the balance we'll build through this guide, strategic, not cruel. 3. The Machiavellian principles you can use. Machiavelli never said, be evil. What he said was, be effective. And, to be effective, you need to understand 3 things: power, perception, and timing. Ibroke, first, power. Toxic people often take yours not by force, but by confusion. They plant doubts and make you question your own boundaries. Your first Machiavellian move is to reclaim authority over your reactions. Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you rattled. Calmness is your counterattack. Second, perception. Machiavelli warned that how others see you often matters more than the truth itself. So if someone's trying to paint you as the villain, you don't defend yourself with words. You defend yourself with consistent behavior. People believe patterns, not explanations. Third, timing. Machiavelli wrote that small problems, if ignored, grow into big ones. If you see early signs of manipulation, address it quickly and quietly before it grows roots. Nip it at the start, not after it's poisoned the soil. 4. Strategy 1. Containment and distance. When you spot a toxic person, your first instinct might be to call them out or confront them emotionally. That's usually a mistake. Confrontation feeds them. Attention is oxygen. Machiavelli would say, don't fight where they're strong, fight by denying them space. Start by creating distance, physically and emotionally. Limit access. Keep interactions short and neutral. Think of it like closing windows in a storm. You're not being cold, you're preventing damage. Distance is not cruelty, it's clarity. Then, control information. Never reveal more than necessary. Toxic people weaponize details, your goals, fears, insecurities. So, give them nothing to twist. Speak politely, but like a press release, factual, concise, and non-emotional. It feels strange at first, but it works. 5. Strategy 2. Control the narrative. Toxic people love storytelling. They'll twist events to make you the bad guy and themselves the hero, or the victim. Machiavelli's advice: never let someone else control your reputation. Once you lose that, you lose leverage. Your counter-strategy is to own your narrative early. When you act consistently, with integrity and calm confidence, you become hard to slander. People may hear gossip, but it won't stick. Your pattern of behavior speaks louder than the toxic person's words. And here's the subtle part: you don't need to fight their lies directly. Instead, flood the room with truth. Continue being competent, kind, and professional. Keep records, maintain clarity, and let time do its work. Machiavelli knew people remember composure under fire more than any speech you could make. 6. Strategy 3. Decisive action. Sometimes containment and composure aren't enough. The toxic person keeps pushing, testing, crossing boundaries. That's when you shift gears. Machiavelli wrote, "Men ought either to be indulged or destroyed." In plain language, half measures don't work with chronic manipulators. Decisive action doesn't always mean a dramatic confrontation. It could mean escalating to HR, cutting contact, or exposing a pattern with receipts. The goal is to end the power imbalance, not to start a war. When you act with precision, once, cleanly, and without apology. Here's the golden rule: never threaten what you can't follow through on. Empty threats show weakness. Quiet, effective moves show mastery. Toxic people thrive on uncertainty until they see you mean business. 7. Strategy 4. Soft power and conversion. Now, not every toxic person is a lost cause. Some are driven by insecurity or fear, not malice. For these, Machiavelli would suggest using soft power. He wrote that it's often wiser to win hearts through generosity than rule by fear alone. Sometimes, you can neutralize toxicity by making the person feel seen, without giving them control. A compliment here, an acknowledgement there. You don't flatter, you disarm. People who feel validated often relax their defenses. That's your opening to set healthier boundaries. Of course, this only works if you sense genuine potential for change. Don't try to save someone committed to chaos. But for those capable of growth, empathy mixed with firmness is sometimes more powerful than confrontation. Machiavelli called that prudence, using kindness as a weapon of peace. 8. Strategy 5. Exit gracefully. Some battles aren't worth fighting. If a relationship is corrupt at the core, abusive, dishonest, or emotionally draining, the Machiavellian move is not to fix it, but to leave it. Quietly, cleanly, and with no open doors for manipulation. Walking away isn't weakness, it's strategy. You're preserving energy for things that actually move your life forward. Machiavelli warned rulers never to linger in lost causes. He who builds on the people builds on mud. The same applies here. Don't build peace on someone who profits from chaos. When you leave, do it without drama. No long explanations, no guilt, just clarity. The more calmly you exit, the more power you reclaim. Sometimes, the silence you leave behind is louder than any revenge. 9. Blending Machiavelli with emotional intelligence. Let's be real. If you go full Machiavelli, you might win a few battles, but lose your soul in the process. Cold strategy alone makes you efficient, but not wise. It teaches you how to manipulate outcomes, not elevate them. That's where emotional intelligence steps in. It's what keeps power human. Think of Machiavellian thinking as your armor, and emotional intelligence as your steering wheel. One protects you, the other guides you. You need both. Emotional intelligence gives you 4 superpowers: self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship management. These are exactly the skills toxic people don't have or exploit in others. Machiavelli understood how humans behave. EQ helps you understand why. When you blend them, you stop being reactive and start being strategic with empathy. You read motives beneath words. You notice tension behind smiles. You don't just react to what's said. You sense what's being played. That's next-level awareness. Let's say someone's trying to undermine you subtly, interrupting in meetings, hinting that you're overconfident. The Machiavellian part of you notes, this is a power move. They're trying to lower my perceived status. The emotionally intelligent part adds, this behavior comes from insecurity. They need to feel superior. Instead of lashing out or shrinking back, you use calm, assertive presence. I see your point. Let me finish my thought, then I'll hand it to you. You stay composed, protect your position, and subtly reassert authority. That's not manipulation. That's controlled influence. Here's another example. Suppose a friend keeps guilt-tripping you every time you set boundaries. Wow, I guess you're too busy for real friends now. Old, you might have apologized or argued, but your Machiavelli EQ hybrid self understands the dynamics. They're using emotional blackmail to keep control. You respond, I value our friendship, but I can't be available all the time. I hope you understand. You've just applied Machiavellian clarity with EQ tone, firm but not cruel. You didn't lose control of the emotional space, you owned it. What's happening here is psychological Aikido. Emotional intelligence takes the energy of someone's toxicity, their anger, guilt, manipulation, and redirects it. Machiavellian realism gives you the blueprint to see the game board. EQ gives you grace in execution. You're not playing their game, you're playing above it. It's quiet power, strength without shouting. People who master that combination command respect without demanding it. But blending these two worlds requires balance. Lean too hard on Machiavelli, and you risk becoming cynical, suspicious of everyone, addicted to control. Lean too far into empathy, and you become a target. Over-explaining, over-forgiving, overextending. The sweet spot is where insight meets restraint. You understand people's motives without judging them, and you respond strategically without losing authenticity. That's the real power move in today's world. Because let's face it, the modern battlefield isn't the castle court. It's the office, the group chat, the digital feed. Influence now happens through tone, timing, and perception. When you mix Machiavelli's realism with emotional intelligence, you learn how to defend your energy and lead with clarity. You stop seeing people as threats and start seeing them as patterns you can navigate calmly. So, When you deal with toxic people, don't just outthink them, outfeel them too. Use empathy as your radar and strategy as your armor. Stay composed, read intentions, and move with purpose. That's how you win without war. That's how you walk through chaos untouched. Conclusion: be strategic, not cynical. Dealing with toxic people doesn't mean turning into one. It means learning to defend yourself in a world that rewards manipulation more than it should. Niccolò Machiavelli simply gave us the language for it. The real win isn't revenge or dominance, it's freedom. Freedom from reacting, freedom from confusion, freedom from people who drain you. When you understand human nature the way Machiavelli did, you stop expecting angels and start building smart boundaries instead. So next time someone tries to play you, remember, you don't have to play back, just play smarter.